It's in the name.
All right, welcome in to the good old-fashioned dislike. We have our 2023 Southeastern Conference preview. We've done this for several years running here. We obviously will return later when bowl season rolls around and our official pick'em will begin, of which I have won 2 years in a row. Blake winning the first year, which congratulations, Blake. Welcome. It's good to be in the club with you. These other two guys might catch up with us one day, but we're going to try to hold off. But this does not count towards our pick'em yet, guys. This is just kind of a warm-up. And so we're just going to talk about the Southeastern Conference. We're going to take them one team at a time. Feel free, wherever you're seeing this, to comment. If Will likes what you write, then he might throw you up on the screen if it's impressive enough. And so, guys, I guess the best question is how you guys doing after the dodgeball tournament on Saturday? We're spending a lot of time live streaming here recently. How are y'all doing?
I've been moving around a little more slowly over the last few days. I don't have my body does not have an option to go at 50%. So if I'm going to play any sport, I'm giving it 110%, and my body has definitely paid for it over the last few days.
I do know that after the game, you were quite sweaty. We'd been at the gym, and the gym was decently cool, but you wore like a Braves jersey, and it was soaked.
Well, to be fair, I could watch someone else run and start sweating, but yes,
you had given it your all, was my point.
We brought home the championship, so it was worth it for the adult division at least.
Will, you threw a little bit.
Defending champs, back to back.
That's right.
Yeah, I felt terrible. I mean, it was just plain and simple.
So terrible you rode 20 miles on a bike the next morning.
That is true.
Yeah.
That could have probably added to
a little
bit of it. Yeah. It did.
So I was pretty worn out, and I didn't throw a single dodgeball, but just set up on Friday night, set up on Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. We broke down. Kind of a full day on Sunday. We had a funeral, so it was kind of a long weekend. But I'm doing okay. How about you? You had
I'm rocking and rolling. I broke down the top 10 or the top plays highlight reel. I haven't got it completely clipped up yet. But, I love doing all that fun stuff. It's a lot of fun. And so pretty excited about that. I think we've got some pretty good shots. I've got tons of shots of Blake pulling the arrows out and
arrows at people
and taunting young people. But that's kind of why we do what we do. But I appreciate you guys. Be sure to look out for the podcast. We're going to be reviewing all the action with you two guys from a player's perspective. But yeah, we come out of the Southeastern Conference. It's our conference. It's the one we love the most. It's the one with our favorite and least favorite teams. And so a lot of rivalries. Hopefully last year you tuned in to see the good old-fashioned dislike in podcast form and also on TikTok. And this is to kick off the season. So we're going to jump right in with the Georgia Bulldogs. And I'll give you guys, thumbs down. I give you guys a second to talk about it. I don't know if there's a whole lot of talking needed because let's just be honest, this is a putrid schedule. And I'm an Alabama fan, and we've had some bad ones, but wow. Now, some of it's not their fault. They were supposed to play Oklahoma, and the SEC nixed that with them coming in next year. And so that rolled off the schedule. And I'm not sure who of these teams they replaced Oklahoma with. Maybe it was UAB. But let's just be honest. There are some varsity high school teams out there that have a tougher schedule, especially until Georgia makes that trip to Tennessee. But, guys, I'm just going to say it. I don't think Tennessee's going to have it. I'm certainly not going to be rooting for Tennessee as I would root for the Death Star before I would root for them. And but maybe that's just my dislike for Tennessee showing up. But I got the Bulldogs running the table with not a whole lot. But I will say this, I think that Auburn game, that trip to Auburn and South Carolina, but they play South Carolina at home. But I think that trip to Auburn really falls kind of in Auburn's favor. I know that I think Auburn has to be honest, a more experienced quarterback than Georgia does, and Alabama. They named, is it Peyton Thornton is his name?
Thorne.
Peyton Thorne starting for Auburn. And so that's my kind of struggle game, I think, maybe for Georgia. What you think, Blake?
Yeah, I echo the same things you have said. I will note a prayer of thanksgiving that Stetson Bennett is gone.
Yes.
Like, thank the good Lord. He is now getting his bones crushed in the NFL, and his intramural style of football will not work there, and he'll be selling insurance very soon. But yeah,
they've all been telling us to quit hating on him.
No.
Okay. So I'm just saying that they still believe in him. I mean, but a guy who's got 4 graduate degrees, I mean, from one place, because he's got to. He's been there that long.
He's been there since 1987. It's time to do something different.
I don't think he has a degree.
I don't know that he does.
I don't think he does.
He's been there long enough to have a degree.
That's the sad part. I don't think he has one.
Yeah, I think isn't he older than Lamar Jackson? Anyways, let's get off him. This is not about that guy. But
he did not graduate, Jeff Tabner said. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, he is he is long gone. But yeah, their schedule is a joke. And I think Sheffield has a tougher schedule than Georgia. But yeah, they're going to run the table. I appreciate what you said about Auburn. I think they are going to be better than what a lot of people think. But I don't really see anything on the schedule that jumps out at me as a loss, and it's probably going to be 3 in a row.
Bold prediction.
That would be history. That is a bold statement. Somebody gets tripped up usually along the way. Of course, now with the 14 playoff, you've got kind of a give me. As long as it's not a bad loss, you can afford one, as us Alabama fans will attest to. Ben, what you got with Georgia?
I'm going to say that, Jordan-Hare is the Bermuda Triangle of football. So I don't know if it'll be there or if it'll be some of that, goalpost luck of Tennessee. But I'm gonna say they trip somewhere. I feel like there's going to be 11-1, and I think Auburn might be the place. And I probably might even find myself cheering for Auburn in that game. So let the record hold that, but I don't know. It'll depend on the day. But anyway, I'm gonna say 11-1.
Yeah, I think that that game at Vandy could be tough with their stadium that only holds like 7 people now, since they decided to destroy it, in the middle of.
They're playing at a high school field.
They did that so that Georgia couldn't bring 8,000 people.
Hey, just in case you need to know, here's the link to show that Stetson did not graduate. But
Jeff coming in hard.
I think they run the table. I think if they don't run the table with this schedule, then Kirby's going to call Urban and figure out how to have heart issues, after losing a game or two. So I'm saying they go undefeated.
Well, that means we have Georgia in Atlanta. I think either way, even if they have the loss, I think Georgia represents the East. And you brought up the Commodores, and I'll just go ahead and say I actually have the Commodores starting the season 4-0. I think they beat Hawaii, Alabama A&M down the road here. I can't believe they're not playing at Alabama A&M. They traveled to Wake Forest, and they got UNLV. I've got them going 4-0 to start, and then they don't win another game. I think they're 4-8, and they're the bottom dwellers. I think they pay rent down there at the bottom of the SEC East.
So
I think he's a good coach. I think it's just that's how it is. You're playing in a high school stadium too, so there's that.
So is that second game the whole team versus Elon Musk? That's last year. My bad. I'm looking at the wrong.
They played Elon last year. And
Sorry.
Ben thought they were playing Elon
Well, he
Musk.
said that was the results. Okay, I got you. Alabama A&M.
That was a boomer trying to make a joke that just ultimately crashed and burned.
Way too busy fighting Zuckerberg.
I didn't watch. Do you know how many games I watched Vandy play last year?
Not more on TV.
None. Nobody watched Vandy play last year. Sorry. Love you, Jonathan. Go ahead.
Fighting Jonathan Henson.
So they play Hawaii at least again. So there you go.
So Blake, who you got? Well, you got Vandy playing out.
Yeah, I think Alabama A&M will actually give them a run for their money. But yeah, I'll go 4-8.
Ben.
Well, since I don't know who they're playing, that's problematic. I'm just kidding. I got it. Let's give them a little credit, folks. Okay, maybe not. Let's go.
Danger zone.
Danger zone. But I'm thinking. I'm trying to find if there's. Here. I know. I'm trying to find if there's a fifth game they could win out of that. I'm not seeing it.
Nope.
Missouri? You think they can pull out Missouri?
It's possible.
I'm gonna give them one more win than you guys. I'm gonna go 5.
I think that hurts even more though, because you're like one game away from bowl eligible, and you just come up short. But nonetheless, Will, you got anything different? 5 and 8, 5 and 7, 4 and 8.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 5 and 7, but I'm gonna say they get Florida in the swamp.
Oh!
Just they had some surprising. They had some, at the end of last season, they had beat Kentucky.
They beat Florida
last year. I think they probably grab one of those, and I think it's probably one that's not, like a Missouri.
5 and 7, huh?
They end up losing to somebody like Missouri and end up beating Florida in the swamp. So
it could happen.
The fighting Tom Petty's down there.
Well, I know when I bring up this next team, at least 3 of the 4 of us here would hope that Vandy would beat them, but let's just be honest, it's a pitiful way to end the season. We got the surging, by their own standards, same record we had last year and thought it was a bad season. Let's just remember that. We have the surging Tennessee Volunteers, the Vials, coming off the best season since I was in high school. And I've got wins. They start off the season 6-0, and then they travel to Tuscaloosa. They travel to T-Town, and they take that first loss just because I know I'll be super nervous if they're undefeated coming to Tuscaloosa. They get a big win at Texas A&M comes to Knoxville. They get a big win the week before. But I've got them taking 2 L's in a row, and I've got Tennessee losing to Kentucky. I think Kentucky actually got better at quarterback this offseason over Will Levis. I think it's the Leary kid. I'm not 100% sure on that, but
he's from NC State. He chose Kentucky over Auburn. So. Yeah,
I think they come to Alabama. They get an L there, probably a close ball game just because football hates me. And then after that big blow, after starting the season so good, I think they drop a loss to Kentucky, and they finish 9-3 after another loss to Georgia, even though it'll be rocking to welcome the Bulldogs into Neyland. So I got them at 9-3.
I actually agree with you, Travis. I think Tennessee is trending upward, but they lost their quarterback Hooker, who he could sling it, but more importantly, they lost those elite wide receivers. They had 2 or 3 guys get drafted within the first and second rounds. Hyatt, and I can't remember the other guy's name, but they were ballers, and I just don't think that they're going to be able to replace that. Milton, I think, is going to be the quarterback. He's the heir to the quarterback. But, yeah, I see them losing at Alabama, Georgia, and then I'm going to say they lose to either Florida or A&M. So I've got them at 9-3. They are getting better, though. Heupel's a really good coach.
He'll be great at Oklahoma next year. Ben.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 9-3 too, because I mean I think there's a real chance. I mean there's several games there that are going to be tough. Texas A&M, Kentucky, Alabama, Georgia, Vanderbilt. I'm just kidding. There's going to be a few games in there. I think that they could lose. I don't think they lose all of them, but I think there's at least 3 or 4 games. Who knows about that first game too? I mean, I don't know that Virginia is all that great, but it's the first game, new quarterback. I don't know. You could see things happening. So I'm gonna say 9-3 at best.
I'm gonna go with 10-2. And I think it all comes down to Milton, whether Milton wants to be the guy that can show he can throw it 90 yards or make the right passes. I think that's what a couple of my friends in Tennessee have said
or not run out of bounds on a 4th down.
Yeah.
Well, that's true too.
Not the best.
And
that's the big thing there. But I think too, it was kind of like when Gus came in, when Freeze came in. At Ole Miss, Gus at Auburn, like everybody's seen Heupel's offense for a year.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of more surprises to that style. So you got another year to game plan, great coaches, I think it settles in there, for a little bit. And last year their defense was not wonderful, either. I mean, it was just very high powered scoring. So I think 10-2.
All right, we're going Beamer ball, baby. Next, Beamer ball out of Columbia. They had a banner year. They saved college football single-handedly by making sure the enemy of the sport did not make the college football playoff. If I can remind of everyone out there, thank you, Spencer Rattler, and that great deal. So we've got the first dislike of the year is going to be the South Carolina Gamecocks versus the North Carolina Tar Heels. And I've got South Carolina winning that game, but I think they finish 6-6. I think they regress. I love some Shane Beamer, don't get me wrong. But I look at that schedule and they got a lot of good teams coming to South Carolina. And I think most of those are winnable, but I've got them finishing 6-6.
South Carolina is just one of those teams that you never know what you're going to get. Like last year, they lost and had some close games. They lost to Missouri, yet they come out and beat Tennessee by 25 at the end of the year. So
thank you.
They're going to win a couple they're not supposed to, and they're going to lose a couple that they're not supposed to.
Dangerous. They might be the Auburn version in the East.
It's very possible. We have played similar to them over the years. I'll give them 7-5 on that sentiment. They're going to win a couple they're not supposed to, and they're going to lose a couple they're not supposed to. And also South Carolina, I know it's not the big 100,000 fan stadium.
They make noise.
They make some noise up there. So, and I like the coach.
Yeah, I was going to say 7-5 too, because I think there's several. I mean, I feel like Georgia's kind of a given that they're going to lose that one. Tennessee may be coming for blood after last year. You've got Texas A&M, you got Kentucky even, and Clemson on the schedule. I think they could lose any of those. I think there's a couple more they could lose, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, 7-5.
I'm going to go 6-6. That's where I hate the spirit of Steven Garcia that lives up there. And so,
I remember where I was.
Forget you, 6-6. And I hope you lose your ball game while you're at it.
All right. South Carolina next. From the East, we will go the Florida Gators. The Florida Gators, I've got them losing that first game, going out to Utah. And I've got them having not a great year. I really think if they were smart and hang on to Billy Napier, he would be good. I think the recruiting is picking up, but it's not going to be pretty down on the swamp this year. I got them going 5-7. And with the Vols doing as well as they are, and especially Georgia, it's just going to be tough to be a Gator this year.
Didn't they pick up the Mertz kid out of Wisconsin? He was just named their quarterback.
I think that's right.
This past week. And Billy Napier must see something in him that I don't. I don't think he's that good. But I agree with you in recruiting. I think they've got 4 of of the top linebackers committed for the 24 class. I think they're rolling in the right direction. I just watched the Swamp Kings documentary, and that just came out in Netflix. And that you can win at that place if you do it right. But man, there's some headaches that come along with it at Florida. But I don't see them being very good this year. I think they may need to look forward to next year. I'll say they get to 6-6 in a bowl game.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll go 6-6.
But
too.
However, I do have them beating Utah. I think they come out first game and win that game, but I think
get everybody's hopes up.
The rails may fall off.
I'll go 6-6 too. I don't have a whole lot more to say about it. But
Travis, what'd you say?
I went 5-7.
Yeah, I'm going 5-7 too. So and you're going to watch the Mormons play the Gators?
No, I wish. That'd be awesome.
Oh, I thought you said you were.
Blake, I do know someone, an Auburn fan, who's going out to Cal. So
who do you know?
Do
you know me? Because I'm going.
Sweet. I know 3 people that are going to.
I will be there as well, but I'm not an Auburn fan. Just a good.
Next, I have my crazy pick. Okay, like I did not intend to put Kentucky this high in the win column. It just happened because I kind of started with the top and made my way through. And I have Kentucky crazy enough at 10 wins, 10-2, second in the East. I think I don't know what I was doing, but I'm rolling with it because, hey, I got there somehow. Obviously, I think they're closer to 9-3 than 11-1, but I'm going 10-2 losses. They welcome Alabama into Kroger. I think it's Kroger Stadium, which is great. That's a loss. And then the trip to Georgia midseason, they take the L. But I got them at 10-2 somehow. Somebody taught me out of that.
Well, when you start off the season playing Sheffield, Waterloo, Tharptown, and
you're offending Sheffield, Waterloo,
some other podunk school.
Shoals Christian.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
this message is not approved by me.
I got some Mars Hill snobbery going on.
I'm not. I did not say it.
They got like 12 kids.
Say it.
No, seriously. Off with Ball State, Eastern Kentucky, Akron, and Vandy. I mean.
And then Florida that y'all said isn't going to be that good.
But, I mean, Florida's going to win a few and lose a few. So who knows about Florida? But when you start off with basically a 4 in the win column for Kentucky, it's hard not to say they're going to play at least 500 or better the rest of the way. Yeah. So I'll go 9-3 for Kentucky.
Wow. All right, Blake.
Well, I just got through Sunday night while we were at Taco Mama, watching a replay of the Bluegrass Miracle, I think it's called, where the guy gets the bath at Kentucky and then Nick Saban beats him. And so, I don't know, watching that, I just feel like Kentucky's good at sometimes flopping. So I'm struggling. I'm going to go – I'm thinking 8-4. I'm thinking there's a few, I mean, who knows what can happen. They could beat Alabama. They could beat Georgia, Tennessee, but I don't think so. I think they're going to lose to Georgia. I think they probably lose to Tennessee, Alabama, and maybe one other. I don't know. So we're going to go 8-4.
8-4, and they'll hang a banner for it. Let me tell you. What about Will?
I think I'm going to go 7-5.
Oh, wow.
There you go. No, I mean, I totally can see it. I'm right there with Blake.
Last year they won their first 4, and then they lost, win, loss, win, loss. So it's like they did exactly what y'all said they were going to do and went the 500, and then they got smoked in the Music City Bowl versus Iowa.
Yeah, they lost to Vandy last year.
So, I think they probably they lose to Florida, lose to Georgia, lose to Tennessee, lose to Alabama. Then all they got to do is Mississippi State's got to beat them, Missouri's got to beat them, South Carolina could beat them,
or Sheffield.
So, but I'm kind of big on Mississippi State this year.
They're going to have a lot of warm up time. Ball State.
All right. Well, Missouri, the Mizzou Tigers, the debacle down at the Plains last year. I mean, how in the world did that happen? I got Mizzou at 3-9. They beat South Dakota, Middle Tennessee, and Vandy, and that's it. 3-9.
I'm with you. They're terrible. They gave Auburn that game about 3 or 4 times last year, and Auburn wouldn't take it. And the dude fumbling out the back of the end zone. I mean, God was definitely on our side that day. But, yeah, they're not very good at all. Like, I don't even know why they're in the SEC anymore. Like, we can kick them out and add a couple others. But, yeah, I'll go 3-9.
Their coach is definitely – he likes to talk.
He does like to talk.
Drinkowitz.
Yeah.
He's kind of he's Will Doppelganger here, isn't he?
At home or away? They're playing those away.
He does love to show up in the Jordans and everything.
Oh, those are home. Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
because he's trying to figure out how to read a football schedule.
No, I was just looking at something.
Will, did you give yours on Mizzou?
No, not yet.
Go ahead.
No, give it. You finally figured out how to read it.
I did figure it out. Well, I was just trying to figure out how y'all got to 3, giving them only 3 wins. That means South Dakota, Middle Tennessee, and Kansas State may be their only wins. Or are y'all even giving them those?
I don't even know if they're going to get Kansas State, but they're going to.
And Memphis.
They're going to beat South Dakota and Middle Tennessee. We'll give them that. And then maybe one of Kansas State.
I mean, because
I don't know that they beat Kansas State.
No,
because that's going to go. That's going to go ugly.
Yeah, 3 wins.
Okay. Well, I don't know that I can argue much with it, but why don't we just say 3-9 like they did? So,
Will,
I'm gonna go 4-8.
4-8. Where's that 4th win at?
I think they're probably win at South Dakota, Middle Tennessee. I think they'll beat Vandy, and then Arkansas could screw up one. South Carolina, they get South Carolina at home. So Memphis, it's like, I think one of those they can probably, get lucky and get one of them.
All right. You said you thought the Mississippi State Bulldogs were going to be a little better than people give them the credit for. So what you got them at, Will?
Let me go back and look.
I've got them at 4-8 with wins over Southeastern Louisiana, Arizona, Western Michigan, and Southern Miss, and taking the L in the Egg Bowl this year.
But they've still got Will Rogers coming back, correct?
They do.
And he's going to sling it. So, I mean, that's where I think I think they're more, to me, they're the dangerous team that can go in and just get somebody that they're probably not supposed to, whether it's a South Carolina. I'll probably give them, I don't know, man. Like, I think they could really, but Arkansas's got KJ coming back, and he's a freak of nature. So I'm going to go 6-6.
Okay. 6-6. What you got, Ben or Blake?
I was waffling between 6-6 and 5-7, so I'll go 5-7.
There you go.
First off, for my analysis of this, I want to say rest in peace to the Pirate, Mike Leach.
Ah, man, yeah.
This team, he was their identity, and he had that offensive identity of that air raid, and their quarterback. He's probably a top 3 quarterback in the SEC. I mean, he is really good. He reminds me a lot of Tim Tebow, to be honest. And this team, if they can find an identity this year, that the defensive coordinator has taken over as their head coach. And so I think they may be a little more defensive first this year. They're not going to have
balanced. Yeah. They're
going to be more balanced. And so I can see them going 7-5 or 6-6. So I'll give them 7-5. I think Mississippi State's going to be all right.
Shout out to our backup quarterback, Asher Morgan. His sister goes to church with us. He's backup quarterback. So.
Now I see. Now I know why. Okay. All right. Did you guys all go? Did you give yours, Ben?
Yeah, I did. 5-7, I think.
All right. We got our resident Barner. I'm expecting some inside information as we talk about the Auburn Tigers. Blake, I'm going to let you go first on this. and maybe you can convince us to add a couple of W's to the win column. Who knows?
Okay. Well, I listen to a lot of Auburn podcasts. Locked on Auburn is a great podcast, daily podcast.
Locked on Bama, same thing. I love them. Yeah.
If you are
the guy at Auburn is really good. He's been on the Locked on Bama a lot. He's awesome.
If you like SEC football or you want to halfway know what's going on at Auburn, he is an Auburn fan. They are biased, but they really are knowledgeable. And,
Zach Blackerby.
Yep, and they give good analysis of what's going on down there. I think they're spot on with the pulse at Auburn. I've seen everything on Auburn from 8-4 to 4-8, and so we don't really know what we're going to have. The keys for Auburn this year are going to be the keys that we have not had for probably the last 10 years, and that is at offensive line. Auburn has replaced over half of their roster with the portal. We've got 40-something new players this year.
Sure.
And 4 of the 5 starters are all going to be new on the offensive line. So if we can find something up front, I think our defense is going to be fine. We've got first-round talent in the secondary. I think the defense is going to be fine. And I think they were so bad last year because the offense was so bad. They were on the field so much. And so with Hugh Freeze coming in, I think best case scenario, Auburn's going to be 8-4 this year. But me being a realist, I'm going to give them 7-5 and get into a bowl game. But it's all going to go with the offensive line.
Yeah, I got them sitting at 6-6, and they push a lot of these teams. And I'm like you. I'm more closer to 7-5 than I am 5-7.
Yeah.
Because I think they are going to come out in that offense, even with just Hugh Freeze being there. He's going to put wrinkles in. He's going to give us Alabama fans a few more gray hairs, and he certainly already made an impact on the recruiting trail. Of course, anything is better than the impact you've had the last 2 years or however long it was.
He's been there a year. He's flipped a 5-star away from Georgia and a 5-star away from Alabama. So
I mean, I question how smart he is when he talks about Alabama not developing receivers, but I get it. But bowl eligible, I think that's a big deal. I think he's going to be recruiting better anyways. But if you go bowl eligible this year, push Alabama to the brink and get close to beating them, that's a big thing, big going. But I got them at 6-6, Ben.
I was going to say 7-5. I think they'll flip from last year. I think they were 5-7 last year. I think they'll flip that around. They've got some games that seem to be gimmies at the beginning. I think at least those first 3. And then I think they're going to win some, maybe Ole Miss, maybe Mississippi State, New Mexico State, I think is a gimme. Vanderbilt's probably a gimme. And then they're going to surprise some people, I think, along the way. So I'll say 7-5.
I'm going to say 8-4.
Oh,
just because I think
just because he wants good vibes from his wife.
I think what's going to end up happening is everybody's going to end up going, they're not going to be that good, or we're going to look to the next game, and then Hugh Freeze is just going to come out there and sling some voodoo around, and they're going to end up like, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. A lot of people probably think that probably dropped one of those. They got them both in Auburn. But, it's kind of like that could happen if Arkansas has a down game. I mean, I'm going to be with Blake in California, so maybe ask me after week 2 if I still think they'll be 8-4. But, I mean, we'll see what happens.
Thanks for the invite, guys. I appreciate it.
But before we move on, I do want to say I think Auburn has the best running back room in the SEC this year.
Ooh, okay.
Auburn does?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure they have the best backfield in the state, but
they have a pretty favorable.
You think Troy is pretty good?
I think there's an argument to be made there, Blake, for sure, on behalf of what you just said. And I think we'll see it. If they've got it, you'll see it. And I think the booger of a trip for any team this year is our next team. And I think Alabama and Auburn both make this trip out to College Station, Texas, and that's the Texas A&M Aggies. And I think this is a a boom or bust. I think it's a boom or bust. I still don't think they can afford the buyout with Jimbo. I mean, they can afford anything, but I think anything short of what happened last year, anything better than that, he'll stick around. They just got too much talent for them to goof up. I mean, they're loaded. I've got the Aggies at 10-2. They take the Tide down in College Station for the second time in a row out there, but they take the L at Knoxville. They get beat in Neyland, and they get beat at LSU to go 10-2 on the season.
Wow. So we know Jimbo, and he's like a roller coaster, man. Like they are really good one year, and they are not good the next year. But what he has done this year is he said he's brought in the wild card.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, Bobby Petrino is the offensive coordinator, and if there's one guy that knows how to call offense, it's Bobby Petrino. And if he lets him do his thing, they're just going to outscore people regardless of what the defense does.
Yep.
I don't know when they do get hit in the mouth by Arkansas, who can score with anybody, I think, this year, with Alabama, who's going to be able to score. Tennessee's going to be able to score. I don't know how they're going to be able to keep up. They've definitely got the 5-star talent across the board, but I'm thinking A&M goes 7-5 this year.
All right.
Because lack of defense.
I would love it.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at the games they could lose. Like, I feel like there's
Abilene,
a chance
Christian.
They could get beat by our brothers at Abilene, Christian.
I'm picking Abilene.
Hey, they lost to Appalachian State last year
That's
on
right.
home field.
It can happen, right? I mean, those are the trap games, but especially it's right before LSU.
Abilene has never been known as a trap game for anybody.
I mean, but they
For
could
sin,
they
but
could
not.
lose at LSU. I think they could lose at Tennessee, depending on what we see from Tennessee. I think they could lose with Alabama, with Auburn. I mean, I think and then they got to go to Miami. I don't know how good Miami's going to be, but they're going to be down there. So I'm going to say something like 7-3. I think, is that right? Wait, that doesn't work. 7-5. 7-5. I think. So I was looking at. Sorry. Don't shut up.
He didn't even teach class tonight. He still can't
You
figure
have
it
no
out.
idea how long today's been.
I will.
7-5.
I think the last 2 games, Hurricanes going to cancel the game.
Ben's going for another COVID year here.
I am. Let's go 7-3. You never know. This heat might cancel those first couple of games. So
I'm gonna go 8-4. 8-4. I do love that they were 4-9 last year. No, 4-8. I didn't know. And they got ranked in the top 15 in the preseason, like AP.
Yeah.
So
I got that wide receiver that just gave us all we can. I mean, we couldn't stop him.
yeah.
He's
As long as
back?
Petrino is calling plays and not using a cell phone to call anybody, they'll be all right.
yeah, him and Hugh Freeze both. Arkansas Razorbacks. I love Rocket Sanders. I love KJ Jefferson. What was that, Blake?
Hugh Freeze now uses a flip phone, so we're good. You know?
Gotcha. KJ Jefferson, Rocket Sanders returning for the Arkansas Razorbacks. That may be the best backfield combo returning. Anyways, it could be an argument made for it. I've got them going 8-4. They beat BYU. They take their first L. They get on a roll of L's. They lose to LSU, A&M, Ole Miss, Alabama, but before finishing with 5 straight wins to finish 8-4.
Oh,
Wow.
that's a rough schedule.
Yeah, they got a little gauntlet, especially with at Ole Miss and then at Alabama.
Easy at first.
I mean,
but I see that takes.
Yeah, I think when we always talk up Arkansas, it seems like they always underperform. Do y'all feel the same way about that?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give them I'll give them 7-5. I don't think they're gonna. I mean, they're good and they're always tough at home, but I think they're gonna underperform.
Yeah, I go with 7-5 too, because I think that gauntlet in the middle is going to be rough. I mean, even down to, I don't know how great Mississippi State and Florida is going to be. I mean, but at Florida, at Swamp, you got a group of teams, and then Auburn, you got several teams that could beat them. So I'm going to say 7-5.
I'm going to say they go 8-4 and beat LSU in Death Valley.
Get her done.
Wow.
So
Get her done.
So I think they start off 4-0, and then they A&M, Ole Miss, Alabama.
7 last year.
It's going to be rough. So.
All right, we got the Lane Train in Oxford, Mississippi. I've got them matching Arkansas's record at 8-4. They have a similar start to the season with Mercer. I don't know, though. I started to say at Tulane. Tulane beat USC last year with Caleb Williams. So I don't know that that's necessarily a gimme. But I've got them going 8-4 with losses to at Alabama, LSU, A&M, Georgia. And those are their 4 losses, and they go 8-4. Judkins is back, by the way.
Yeah, Quinshawn, he's just a sophomore, I think. He is really good. I'll take Ole Miss at 9-3 this year. I think Alabama gets them, Georgia gets them, and then they lose one in the middle right there, either Arkansas, Auburn, or Texas A&M. Lane's always winning games, it seems like, up until the end of middle of November, and then he just kind of falls off. That's what we saw last year. They lost their last 4 in a row, and they just kind of they experienced a lot of turmoil at the end of the season. And so, but the Lane Train's going to be rolling up until then. So
what'd you say?
I said 8-4.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to go. I'm going to go with 8-4.
I said 9-3.
You said
9-3. That's right.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to go 8-4. I think there's at least 4 in there that could get them, but I think they could go better than that. It just all depends on what the season is.
My thought was 9-3 unless there's a real prime head coaching vacancy, and then they'll end up going like 6-6 because Lane will be at the top of the list for it. So, and they also got Pete Golding, so who knows?
That's true.
Who knows what that does?
I would like to thank the Auburn boosters. I mean, I mean, Hugh Freeze is a great hire. Don't get me wrong, but I am so happy you guys did not hire Deion Sanders. I mean, that was like the biggest gift you gave to the Crimson Tide last year was not hiring. And I don't know. I think long term, I think Hugh's better. I mean, just to be honest, but I think Deion coming would have been it would have blown the whole thing. I mean, Nick's still Nick. He would have got his guys, but I just think that would have been insane. But thanks, Lane, for staying home too. We appreciate it. LSU, the Tigers from Baton Rouge, and I've got kind of a shocking pick that we'll figure out here in the next couple of days. I actually have them taking an L at Florida State in Orlando. They're playing in Orlando to start the season, and I think they've just been hyped to no end. All I've heard is about, Alabama was picked to go to the SEC championship by the media, but it was really close. But I think they take the L out the gate, and then they don't lose again until they go to Tuscaloosa, and they finish 10-2 on the season and actually help us out by beating Texas A&M. Helps Alabama out by beating Texas A&M in that last ball game.
If you remember a couple years ago, they were picked preseason top 10. And I had LSU going 3-9 or 4-8, and they did.
Nailed it.
So I don't see it being that bad this year. I have underestimated their coach. What's his name? Brian Kelly. I have underestimated him pretty much every year, wherever he's been.
Yeah.
He's a good game managing coach. He's a good in-game coach. And people are hyping up that quarterback. They think he's going to be a Heisman finalist. So I'm going to go 9-3 for them as well.
Gotcha.
I think they're going to. I think they're going to come out and beat Florida State because they should have beat Florida State last year and they collapsed at the end of that game. But I've got them at 9-3.
And a side note, I think Florida State beats them, but then like the hype train for Florida State goes through the atmosphere, but they don't finish it well. I'll just say that in my mind. But yeah, I think Brian Kelly. I mean, Ed Orgeron won a natty at LSU.
Yep.
A guy like Brian Kelly, who is P's and Q's, X's and O's, can do it. I'm not shocked by any success they had. I wasn't shocked that they won the West last year. Especially the way Alabama was playing. He's a good coach.
Is it just me looking at that schedule? It looks like a pretty easy schedule compared to some of the other ones. I mean, they're not playing. I mean, they're playing Alabama. They're playing Texas A&M. There's a few games they could lose. But, I mean, if they come out strong, they probably could have a pretty good chance of doing well. I'm going to say 9-3 just because I think their schedule leans in their favor. If they had some of the other ones, if they had Georgia and some other guys on their schedule, it might look a little different. But I'm gonna say 9-3.
They got a good draw out of the East. They got Missouri and Florida.
I'm gonna go 8-4.
Ooh, all right. Tell us why.
Well, I think they lose. I said a second ago, Arkansas. I think Arkansas gets them. And then I think Bama's going to get them. I think Auburn or Florida State gets them. And then I think A&M gets them.
All right. Well, cool. Y'all want to take on the Crimson Tide, or y'all want to throw Jeff Tabener a West Virginia prediction first?
0-12 next. I didn't even know they still had football in West Virginia.
All right, we'll go with Alabama, and then we'll talk a little West Virginia.
All right, that'll work.
I got Alabama closer to 10-2 than 12-0, but I've got them at 11-1, and I think they lose one of those Texas games, if not both. I'm just a little fearful if we can score enough points to beat Texas or Texas A&M, especially A&M at College Station. So I got Bama at 11-1 and going to Atlanta only because LSU beats A&M that last weekend of the season.
So I gave a little Auburn analysis. Can you give us the weak point or the make or break group for Alabama this year?
I think the make or break for Alabama is defensive front. I think the defensive line, obviously there's questions at quarterback. I think that's the biggest question of the offseason. Can they get enough? I don't know. I think we could see as many as 3 quarterbacks against Middle Tennessee State, maybe 4. I've even heard Dylan Lonergan has made some moves. I think we see at least 2, maybe against Texas, depending on how Jalen Milroe. I think he's the starter until something happens. But I'd say quarterback or defensive front. And the first 5 out, and I'm not talking defensive front as linebackers. I think linebackers were set. The actual interior defensive linemen have been a question point. It's more of a depth thing. Like, we don't have enough. Jaheim Otis is great. He's fine. Boygby's great if he can stay healthy. But I say defensive line, the secondary is going to be awesome. I think you got Kool-Aid, probably the best corner, can make the argument to be the best corner in the country. Caleb Downs is a true freshman, but he's playing like Minkah Fitzpatrick part 2. But yeah, I would say the defensive front, which is huge. They're going to play teams. They're going to try to push them around. But I do think I like the style of football offensively that we're going to play. But I think week 2, Texas is going to score a lot of points. And I just don't know that we're up to that yet. But I've got us losing to A&M.
Well, I'll go right there with you at 11-1. I have no clue how Texas, that defender on that corner blitz, did not tackle Bryce Young last year. He Houdini'd out of that somehow. He had him dead to rights. So I'll take him at 11-1 as well. In years past, it hasn't really mattered who the quarterback was at Alabama, but because if you go back to like Greg McElroy and AJ McCarron, those guys were good, but they weren't the quarterbacks that Alabama's had in recent years. And so I think Alabama will be fine at quarterback, but I'm with you. I'll say I'll say either Tennessee or Texas get some, and it's not going to be Texas A&M. So I mean, Tennessee's going to be tough, man. So I'll give them
scoring bunches. It's going to be hard to keep up with.
I'll go ahead. I'll make the bold prediction. I'll go ahead and do it for sake of the show. Tennessee gets Alabama again this year, 11-1.
Y'all go ahead and make the funeral arrangements. Go ahead, Ben.
I mean, I have a hard time. I don't want to be there going against Alabama, but I feel like if we're being real, like with some of the other schedules, there's 2 or 3 games that we could lose. I think that there's 2 or 3, and with all the questions, I'm going to say 10-2 and hope for 12-0. But my hope is it's 12-0.
Breaking news. Ben's hoping for 12-0.
But 10-2
ticker at the bottom. ESPN. That's got to be notification.
If we're just being honest, I'm like Blake. I think Tennessee. I think Texas A&M, and even. I mean, Auburn LSU is always – I know people say it's not always close. Well, it always feels close. And LSU, they're all possible. So, I just think realistically looking at it, there's a possibility. I think we'll at least have 3 or 4 close games. So, who knows how they come out. But I'm going to go 10-2. You're going 12-0, aren't you?
Straight Absolutely. See, all right, here's what I think with Bama is everybody's so concerned with – who's going to play quarterback. Then they're concerned like with that. I'm kind of with Blake. Like, yes, I think there's the idea of we've got to have somebody that's good, but all 4 of those guys are completely capable. And what everybody doesn't realize too is Jalen Milroe may be top 3 best athletes in the entire SEC.
Oh yeah.
And if you get him with Reese running like what Tommy Reese did with Ian Booker at Notre Dame, if they run that same style offense, like it's going to be a read option. Like you're going to have to be ready. But I think everybody's sleeping on the wide receivers. Like Isaiah Bond, they're saying is another Jalen Waddle. They said he's coming on unbelievable. You got Malik Benson who transferred in, who they said is just another JMO, who's a straight speed guy. And then you got Kobe Prentice, Jermaine Burton's coming back, Ja'Cory Brooks is coming back. Like, I still think we've got the athletes that I don't think we have to have a Bryce Young, And I mean, like, and I would rather have Bryce Young, 100%. But like last year, Bryce Young won us games.
Yeah.
And I don't think this year the quarterback has to go out and win the game for us. Not to mention, I know Blake mentioned Auburn's running back room, but like Bama's running back room is deep. I mean,
5 deep. You can throw any of those 5 guys in, and they'll be just fine.
If we can keep them healthy, that's what's happened in the past.
Yeah, that's why there are 5 of them and 6 of them. But, I think – and if you look at the championships, I mean, Blake went down through them there. It's never because of stunning quarterback play. I mean, Mac Jones was lights out because, 2020 was one of the best teams of all time up there. You can make the argument. But anyways, it's – when Nick trusts the quarterback too much, we typically don't win at all.
Yeah.
He's handing the ball off. Go ahead, Blake.
I think the way Reese, I think he hired Reese just to mess with Brian Kelly. But then the other side of it too is if he slows it down, we're not going to have 30, 40-second drives anymore, and if you limit, Tennessee on the field, yes, I think our defense is going to be great, but if you have 7-8 minute long drives where you're just 2-3 yards at a time going, like that's going to frustrate some people. So
if Milroe does win the job, Alabama's offense is probably going to look like 2013 Auburn with Nick Marshall at quarterback, and we had Trey Mason, and they just ran the read option and no one could stop it because we know Alabama's offensive line is going to be good.
Yeah,
they always are. So I think that's a decent comparison to make if he does win the job. they're going to be tough at that RPO.
And I love what Kevin Steele has said. We want to play joyous murder ball.
I guess we won't be dropping Dallas Turner into coverage.
That's true too.
I hope. So I think 3 of the 4 of us have Georgia and Bama in Atlanta. I think Ben may have left them out, or it'd be close, 10-2. I think it doesn't matter. I think at this point, I'd have to say, but I do see all this. Well, it's Georgia, foregone conclusion. I'm like, Georgia's beat us once out of 5. Everybody acts like Georgia and Alabama not playing last year was like a stamp of Georgia being the dominant team. I'm not arguing. Like, I would pick Georgia right now. If they played today, I'd be like, Georgia's going to win it. I've not seen anything other. But they're 1-4, 1-5. Kirby's 1-4, 1-5 versus Nick Saban. And those 4 losses, those 5 losses, how many of them have been within 10 points? Not many. Yeah. So today I'm picking Georgia. I think they win the SEC. I think it's I think it's a throwback to some old school football in Atlanta, whether it's LSU or Alabama. I think it's going to be a slobber knocker. But if you're asking me today, I'm picking Georgia. I think there's an outside chance. Hopefully these morons on the playoff committee have learned their lesson and realized that a 10-2 SEC school is probably better than the Big 12 runner-up.
How dare you?
Yeah, I don't think the quarterback at Georgia is just like Alabama. They just named this guy the starter, and it doesn't really matter what he does or if he is halfway competent. They're going to be there, and I think they're going to win the SEC.
Well, what about them West Virginia Mountaineers?
So I was looking at West Virginia.
They got Penn State.
They're doing the backyard rivalry again. That's good. Backyard brawl. That's great.
It's pronounced Duquesne.
Duquesne. Okay, whatever. Pittsburgh, Texas Tech, West.
Right, so give us. I'm going to go down the list, and y'all tell me your W's for West Virginia, and we'll start with Blake. West Virginia at Penn State.
Loss.
Ben.
Loss.
Will.
Who?
Penn State. Are you
who? Give me the Nittany Lions.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Penn State too. Thank you, Andy Duncan. Yes, with the mic drop. I guess that's in relation to the Georgia comment. I don't know. Duquesne. I'm giving West Virginia the win, so they're 1-1 for me. What about you, Blake?
Yeah, I'll give them Duquesne.
Duquesne for the win.
Is he running for president, Duquesne?
Yeah.
What about the backyard brawl? I'm going West Virginia gets revenge.
I never heard of school. Yeah.
2-1.
What's that? Pittsburgh?
West Virginia 2-1.
I was trying to see what the spread was on these games because Jeff, feel free to give us your thoughts as well in the comments.
I'll give him a W with Pittsburgh.
Duncan likes my mic drop on the cowards of the playoff committee. All right. I got 2-1. We head to Texas Tech with West Virginia.
I
got 3-1.
Give me Texas. Give me West Virginia.
All right.
Jeff says they may beat Pitt.
I'll go West Virginia on the Texas Tech game.
Will?
Sure. Yeah. West Virginia sounds great.
Is TCU done licking its wounds from that Georgia beatdown that will be remembered for decades to come?
Forever.
Give me the Christians.
Yeah, I'm going Horned Frogs.
I'll go TCU as well.
Jeff, I still think you're a good Christian, but I'm going to go the Horned Frogs.
West Virginia at Houston.
Ooh, Houston can be tough.
Welcome to the Big 12.
I'm just trying to think of Mountaineer versus a Cougar.
Well, we're not.
Give me the Mountaineer.
Does the Mountaineer have his? Does he have his musket? If he's got his musket,
has he traded for a rifle?
But look, a musket is not much of a match. I mean, one shot you just make the Cougar mad, unless you're just a really good shot.
Jeff Taverner is that Mountaineer.
Who's shooting the? Yeah,
that's shooting the Cougar. Give me Jeff Taverner.
Let's go, Jeff, on that one. West Virginia.
So we got them sitting at 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2. 4 and 2. Oklahoma State comes in to Morgantown.
Give me, I'm a man of 40.
Give me Gundy.
I think, I'm gonna go Cowboys. Cowboys probably
1 and 1, 2 and 1, 3 and 1, 3 and 2, 4 and 2, 4 and 3 at UCF.
Give me Gus.
UCF, nice.
Gus.
I'll
take Central Florida.
I'm gonna go Florida too. Yeah, Central Florida too. Yeah. The Knights Templar. Take it out. What you got?
For UCF?
Yeah.
Give me West Virginia.
Ooh.
All right. BYU.
I just want more of those pizza rolls.
More Cougars.
give me the Mormons.
Uh-oh.
I'm going BYU too. At Oklahoma, give me the Sooners.
I didn't say what I wanted. Or are we not taking all of them?
Go ahead, Ben. Tell us.
No, I didn't know.
Go ahead. It's fine.
Go pick. I'm going to go.
Ben's still trying to figure out how to read a
BYU.
football schedule.
You shut up. BYU. What are you taking? You didn't say it either, did you?
First, West Virginia. Yeah, give me West Virginia.
All right.
You got West Virginia.
All right. At Oklahoma,
Great.
I'm going Boomers.
Yeah, give me Oklahoma.
Yeah, I'm going to go Oklahoma there too.
Yeah, give me what? Yeah. Give me Venerables.
Cincinnati, the Bearcats. Got a new head coach.
They can be tough, but I'm going to go West Virginia.
Are they bear? Are they a cat? Do they know?
Do they even know what they are?
Based on that analysis, give
All
me
I know is Tennessee's attracted to them. Half bear, half cat.
All right, West Virginia for me.
Give me West Virginia. And finally, at Baylor.
The Baylor Bears. Are we playing basketball or are we playing
football?
Baylor's really good basketball too.
Let's go. That's what I'm saying.
Who's Baylor's coach? Isn't it the LSU guy? Yeah, Dave Aranda.
Let's go West Virginia.
He's Baylor's head
I'm just going to do it. Let's just go West Virginia.
All right, there you go, Jeff. Guys, I appreciate your time, your picks. Ready? Did I miss something?
Nope.
No.
No. All right. Well, Jeff Taver thinks they might beat Pittsburgh. I'm just glad they're bringing that rivalry back because it was dead for a long time up until last year. So it's good. Rivalry is good for college football. The SEC next year's preview will be adding Texas and Oklahoma, right? So howdy doody and all that good stuff. But appreciate you guys giving us your time. Thanks, guys, for listening in, giving us your opinions on what you think is going to happen. I'm looking forward to it. Should be nerve-wrackingly fun. And, of course, you guys are the panel of dislike. I'll be asking soon for your dislikes of South Carolina Gamecocks and the North Carolina Tar Heels. But we hope you'll join us. And Andy Duncan finishes out with a hottie toddy. We got I had Ole Miss winning that Egg Bowl there, by the way, Andy. But we hope all of you have a good week and can't wait for college football.